Also, please let's use the chat. If there is something you do and you want people to know about it, please also put it in the chat, because I am going to save the chat and also send around, especially our email addresses and what we have. So basically, my name is Kole Adeodutola, and most of the time when I was in Nigeria, I was deeply involved in journalism and cultural organizing, if you like, or some would say activism. And my thing has always been that the nature of what we do is such that we are divided into little silos that we don't get to know what others are doing. I mean, we're talking of Nigeria that is so big, it's so difficult to get your information across to all Nigerians, especially when it comes to arts and culture. The same thing, how do we in Nigeria link up with our friends in India? How do we link up with our friends in Trinidad and Tobago? How do we get more people to come together and contribute? Brother Akadeoya, who is trying to join now, he is a marketing guru. He's done magazines on a niche idea as marketing. And he has his own ideas. He has his own audience. And what I have always been, what I have discussed with him is, I think in 2022, we're getting to a point where we need to expand as opposed to fragment. We need to expand our readership, our base, to go beyond our own geographical location. And I thought that one good way to start would be to use a friend's newsletter, Tonya Kyosho's Book Artsville, as a starting point to look at something that somebody has already done. What are the suggestions that we can give? And so please make use of a chat as much as possible. Let's know where you're located. Let's know what you do that can be of interest to the rest of us. We would introduce ourselves as we go along. Like I said, this will be for just 1 hour. I would send the recording to everybody so that you can either review it or share it with people. And so if you haven't gotten a sample copy of the Book Artsville, if you send to me, I would send you samples that I have. And then if you send me your email as well, I'll send it to the publisher and it can include you and you can always get copies of it. So without wasting too much time, if you want to speak, you can just go to reactions and just signify and I'll call you. So that for me will be the intro. If anybody has anything to add or a suggestion, the floor is all yours. Yes, is anybody willing to contribute anything? Okay, all right, yes. I can see that Michael now, like it says, tour to Nigeria, and his WhatsApp address is there. He usually sends materials to people. You know, he's a member of different umbrella organizations that are interested in tourism in Nigeria. And like you know, if tourism in in Nigeria will grow, we need external visitors as well from different parts of the African continent. So, Aki, I don't want to put you on the spot, but I know that we have discussed a number of things and you have taken a look at the sample I sent you. What are your initial reactions?
Thank you. Can you hear me clearly?
I can hear you clearly, yes.
Thank you. But don't you think, for the benefit of everybody, that we should get some perspective in terms of the vision of the man behind the publication, even if for 1 or 2 minutes? What was the core vision? What was it trying to achieve? And what are the basic challenges that is facing so far?
Okay.
I think that would help to give a direction to the conversation so that we don't just get confused.
Okay. I can also help with that very quickly. That if you follow the antecedent of how we got to Book Artsville, it used to be Artsville, which showed up in The Guardian, and it just took snippets of things happening, reporting of events, and once it left the institutional media organization and moved on to the email and the website, the focus now became getting the attention of the audience to things that are happening or things that will happen, or to also get the attention of those who are reading to know what book is out, what art exhibition is there. And basically what has happened is just a harvesting of emails that are available. And those are the immediate audience. So usually when you start a project like this, you start with those you know. And then it is based on how others can contribute to it that would expand it. Somebody says for every feature article you write or publish is as good as your contacts. It is your contacts that will make it good. This session today is serving two purposes. One is introducing you to a newsletter you probably never heard of before. So you at least you now know that there's something called Artsville. In a building of brands, the very first thing you want to do is that people from different walks. The thing about those of us who are present here is that we're located in different places. Some in Nigeria, we have somebody from India, where I am here in Florida. Brother Godwin is there in Atlanta. So at least we are spread out, and we can take, if we find it comfortable and convenient, this labor of love. Everybody that I know in Nigeria that has published anything that has to do with the arts or has to do with culture has always been a labor of love. I'm not sure, you can correct me if I'm wrong, I'm not sure there's any arts magazine on the African continent or in the developing world that is self-sustaining and has made so much money that it can self-sustain itself. Most of the time is always a labor of love. And the question is, but why? The arts is supposed to be the pillar of most societies, but at the same time, it's not being financed. It does not even have the audience in most cases to allow it to grow. So I am calling on to this in a way that at least we know that there's a platform. If you have something that you're doing that you can send to the publisher. We also know that there is something already done. There are lessons we can learn from it, from how it has started and how it is growing. So that would be my response to that. So you can take this to be two things. Our suggestions really will be what they are. They're just suggestions. But I've always known that most of the time when we suggest something, it is not only applicable to a particular product. Suggestions are such that it can apply across board to those who have been involved in this kind of projects. We can learn from each other's experience. I know that Brother Johnny has a publication he calls the Pan-African. Is that what you call it? The magazine you have.
Pan-African magazine. Yes, Prof. It's Pan-African magazine.
Yes, the Pan-African magazine is published. Now, again, the advantage or the beauty of this is that most of you who have linked into this probably did not even know about it. Now you know there's something about it. By the time Johnny puts his, or he has his 5 minutes of fame, he will tell you the fantastic idea he's been having. Some of these things are very newsworthy. Some of them, by the time you hear them, you can also see how you key into it. So, Brother King, have I responded to your?
I think you've done a good job of giving us the background that we require just for everybody to be on the same page. Now you want me to make general comments, isn't it?
Yes, please.
Okay. I'm going to take it from the. I'm going to be talking, taking my leading from some of the points you've made. I mean, why, for instance, must a publication focusing on the arts only be for labor of love? Why can it not be commercially successful? You know, for instance, what can we do to change that scenario? I will take a little from my readings in branding and marketing. First and foremost, we need to imitate or learn from those who are doing the kind of things that we are doing, and turning the profits. So naming is a big issue here now. Okay, if you want to have a commercially successful publication, why do you want to call it Bookersville? That sounds a bit heavy to me, and already suggests that you are dealing with a close circle of potential readers who are in it almost like a private group. I mean, this is our thing. It doesn't lend itself, in my view, enough to be a public forum. That's number one. The second point I want to make is that I don't necessarily agree that if you are doing something that has to do with arts and stuff like that, therefore it must be for a labor of love. Art itself has expanded now, and some of the things we call art today were not called art 100 or 200 years ago. And I think that there's been I would say the public have moved into arts and arts have moved into the public much more than we realize. Take the art of writing on its own. There was a time that if we did a publication for writers, you probably were dealing with a few hundred or a few thousand people that you know personally or that subscribe to you. People call themselves writers. But today we have platforms with massive following that are targeting primarily writers and just people who love to read good stuff. One of them is Medium. Look at Medium. We all know Medium. Medium is actually, I pay to read Medium. I pay every month. I subscribe to Medium. And the worst part of it is that, I mean, I would have loved to be earning some money from my own writers on Medium, but I'm not even allowed to because I live in Nigeria. you know, and I'm trying to explore if I can register through my US bank account now. But the truth is that the platform doesn't allow you, if you live in Africa, you know, to receive payment, because they reward writers based on how well you are read. Okay, but it doesn't allow you, if you're in Africa or other part of the world, you know, to enjoy that benefit, because the Stripe is not functioning in most of Africa. I don't think it's even functioning in South Africa now. But I still subscribe, and I know a lot of people who subscribe. Why? Because of the way the platform is designed to offer great reading stuff for people who love to read and who love to write. So and now there are millions of them, and that's the interesting part of it. There are millions of them, and I must tell you that, I mean, I probably don't see any huge difference between what Book Houseville is doing and what Medium is doing. The only difference is in the size of the definition of the vision, and we will capture the target market, and we will describe the function or the purpose of the publication. The publication is defined with a very narrow purpose, with the old conception that arts is for a few people who are probably cultural enthusiasts, people who earn their living by writing about arts and things like that, or professional authors and professional writers only, or artists. That limits it. We live in a world where there are millions of people out there who love to be called writers, who love to be called cultural, who are cultural enthusiasts, but are not involved in cultural activities. You know, these people can become part of this kind of movement. Like when I shared my preliminary thoughts with you, I said, look, the first thing, if you're looking at commercialization, we have to look at the numbers. You know, so how do we first get 10,000 people, 5,000 people, 20,000 people into the box? If we excite them enough, what kind of special service can we give to make them want to chip in a cup of coffee or 2 cups of coffee every month? And that could be the journey. It doesn't have to be a lot of money. That could be the journey towards commercialization. And I think it's possible, you know, but let me not bore the listeners too much. I think maybe later, if issues come up, I could still contribute more. I don't know if I've provided useful perspective so far.
Okay, at least you would see that if you check the chart, I was trying to take notes as we go along. Let's move from Nigeria to India. I can see that Lieutenant Suri already has written something. I don't know whether you want to introduce yourself or say something based on what you've heard so far.
Well, it's pretty much the same everywhere. And, you know, Happy New Year to all of you. And this whole room feels like home, by the way, because I've spent 10 years in Nigeria and I came back to India thereafter. So this is like family around over here. So, you know, my compliments of the season to all of you and your family as well. Please greet them for me. The part about the arts being, you know, for the few, that's a conception in India as well. And a lot of people feel that what comes out of creativity is not to be, you know, paid for. It's quite interesting because when you look at the amount of inspiration that people gather from art and do, you know, and get into very successful careers for that matter, that's coming out of art, that's coming out of writing, that's coming out of beautiful pieces of artwork. It's coming out of the minds of, you know, absolutely brilliant people. But I do not believe, you know, it's like the rest of Africa as well. And I'm not so sure about the other countries. I've not really lived anywhere else except Nigeria and India. That most people feel that if you are a writer, you should not be putting a price tag to it. But you know what? Poetry does not pay bills. It's about how many people can appreciate it uh, and promote it. So throughout the centuries, even in India, the entire history shows that the arts and anything to do with creativity was always promoted by the royalty or the rulers. Otherwise, it just died. It's very rare for somebody who's not well off and not supported by some really rich person for them to emerge as somebody who is very well known or someone who is a master in their work. And it's quite sad when you look at it in terms of what the output of the world comes from writers, comes from poets, comes from artists, dancers, musicians, and how little people stop by to absorb and appreciate the kind of inspiration it provides. So I don't think it's on a balance when it comes to being financially or well off as well by being a writer, because a lot of the writings that you read in Africa and even in India, a lot of the poetry that you read is all very, it's closeted within communities. It's not spread worldwide. People don't, promote it unless you pay for it. And that's the sad part, because everybody gets something or the other out of it. But it's just very, very small communities. And I'm hoping, a lot more talks like this, thank you, Mr. Olutola, for this, because this is a great forum for taking up this on a global scale, even if you think it's just 3 countries right now over here. But it's a start. And thank you so much for adding me to this forum and giving me an invite to say a few words.
Okay.
And this is Sandhya. I'm done talking. Thank you.
All right. So what it means is, at least I would save this chart. What is just missing there is how people can get in touch with you. It will be a fantastic piece, for instance, if one day you can sit down and put together your experience of living in Nigeria. What it would
I would love that.
That would be a beautiful piece that I'm sure Nigerians would like to read. And maybe one day we would also get a Nigerian who's lived in India to share their perspective. And we also have somebody who is a tour guide who knows the places around Nigeria. But let's move on to South Africa. Now, what you're going to hear next from Brother Johnny would really move you, because this is a man with a lot of ideas. So he's going to start from the Pan-African Arts Chamber, and then he would move on, briefly to tell us what he's planning, and then the Pan-African magazine he also has. Because the whole idea of this is how we can expand our reach. How more people in South Africa can get to know that niche publication called the Book Artsville, and how Book Artsville can tap into the audience in South Africa. So let me give the floor to Brother Johnny, and then I will come back to India and then Nigeria, and then we will get to Atlanta. Okay, then. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof. Good evening, everyone. It's really good to be here. South Africa's art market is really developed. Prof and I met here in South Africa almost 10 years ago. We were both speaking at the Creative Economy Conference that I was part of a Material Network at the time. It was actually a platform where we convened practitioners in the creative sector. We had international participants, Prof coming from the US at the time, and of course we had people from across Europe. The biggest funders of the conference, by the way, were Norwegian and Dutch organizations or foundations, if I have to put it that way, South Africa has got a very viable art magazine business. There is the Art Africa magazine, there is Art Time South Africa, there is Creative Field, there is Art Throb, there is the South African Artists magazine. And I think the biggest mistake that many people make, especially in the art, I'm talking now as a person who started my journey in the art here as a filmmaker, as a director, as a producer, then went to work with chambers of commerce over the last 12 years. The biggest mistake basically is that people working in the arts are really limited from an audience perspective only to the art, because that's the audience they know. So we cannot blame them. We have to make sure that we are able to open the scope. For me, as a person who started in the art, I've worked with chambers of commerce for 12 years now, eventually setting up the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce. I just came off now from a call with my team in the US. We've set up an arts chamber of commerce in the US, and we've got programs now to bridge the gap between commerce, community, and creativity. My passion really is to connect artists. I believe entrepreneurs to the market, the skills, the tools they need to build successful artistic careers, not only here in Africa, but internationally. The Pan-African magazine, we've had that idea since 2015 when the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce was established. The chamber is turning 7 years this year, but we really did not want to be in a hurry. One, we wanted to start by, number one, building the audience. There is no point, honestly, in selling something and you don't have an audience for it. So for the Pan-African Chamber, eventually, traditionally, the marketplace for us was going to be the business community. That's where we went to start. So other chambers of commerce, the French chamber, the German chamber, the Dutch chamber, the American chamber. So from an ecosystem perspective, that audience was present for us. But what the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce did as well right from the beginning, because I'm an artist, was to make sure that we bridge the gap between art and commerce right from the beginning. So now when we speak about the art as a chamber of commerce, we have currency, we have the influence. People listen to us when we speak because, one, we have the language of business. We know what business wants. So we don't go in there, we don't have the numbers. So we take the numbers as a chamber of commerce. We now start using those numbers to get people in government at the policy-making level to understand the business case for the art. Now, if I can go a step higher at the World Economic Forum, the conversation around the fourth industrial revolution and AI and all of that, creativity, they say, is the currency in the fourth industrial revolution. Now, when we come from the World Economic Forum with that conversation, everyone is actually basically going to listen. But that's not all. How we're building now the audience for Pan-African Magazine is by organizing art projects. So art fairs, art festivals, music exchange. We are even organizing the Pan-African Music Awards in Durban this year. Why did we wait up to this level? We had to build an audience. The Pan-African Chamber of Commerce is registered in Houston, in the US now, registered here in South Africa, working in 47 countries in Africa. So the chamber didn't start yesterday. 7 years later, as an artist, I saw this chamber different. I wanted the chamber to be a driver, basically, of strengthening the partnership between commerce, between the private sector, the public sector, and the creative sector. This is basically what we've done. Now, when we go to the artists now, because I speak that language, it is very, very, very easy for them to buy in. Who are we having in the conversations in the Pan-African Magazine? We have the Tonio Lumelus of this world, right? We have the president of the African Development. I'm in that space already, right? We've got the president of Afrexim Bank. We've got the CEO of MTN. We've got the CEO of Standard Bank. Now, those people have power, they have the capital. So when we speak with them now to say, invest in this project, invest in that project, it's not difficult for them to advertise in the magazine. But we are not just after advertisement and stuff like that. We are building a community. We want to make sure that artists develop business skills, business acumen, understand the conversations that are happening in the boardrooms where the decisions are made about how much the art will actually get. That is basically the space that I'm actually playing now. Last point I want to mention, the Arts Chamber of Commerce that is in the US and of course here in South Africa is really not just about promoting American culture in Africa. No, we are actually setting up this platform to promote African culture in America. So because of COVID, we had to cancel a lot of projects. But what you guys will see this year, we have a lot of projects. We have an event called Music Made in Africa that is going to happen in Los Angeles this year. We are starting our conversation with African ministers of culture. We are organizing the African Ministers Conference on culture because I sit already at that level, at the policy making level, speaking with government, policy making. It's easy for me now to say to them, listen, you need to support the arts. Here's the amount of money that is needed and stuff like that. So that is where we are now, both from the Pan-African Chamber of Commerce and the American Arts Chamber of Commerce as well. We have the support of the US government. We are opening an art school here, where about 200 American artists will come during the course of this year to South Africa on residencies, fellowships, exchange programs, performances, speaking engagement, all of that funded by the US government. It's not something I started working on yesterday. This took us about 4 or 5 years to put together. So we are here now in saying, how do we then connect Africa together? We have a project coming up, a fashion show, a fashion exchange between Joburg, Cape Town, Lagos, Milan, Paris, and New York. We ran a program just now. I think talking about the audience. We ran a fashion exchange program between South Africa and Italy called Bridges. So Bridges is a program funded by the Italian government. We did an exchange where South African designers went to the Milan Fashion Week and Italian designers came to the South African Fashion Week. So we have no problem from who to advertise or who to go to in terms of, speaking about what they're doing in the magazine that we are doing. So we are now taking that project to a bigger level. Michael, I sent you an invitation. I saw you accepted on LinkedIn. On the 1st of September, the 1st and the 2nd of September, we are organizing an event in New York called Destination Africa. We have the buy-in and funding, by the way, from the South African government. We have UNESCO, for the UN World Tourism Organization. My members were in Spain last year. This is basically promoting Africa, tourism, culture, hospitality, post-COVID. So the 1st and the 2nd of September, put it in your calendar. You and I can talk offline once this is done, maybe tomorrow, to see the role you can play. So South African tourism has come on board to support Destination Africa. We've got friends in Australia as well who are supporting this campaign. There is a lot of projects. Some of these things you see now took us about a decade, some of them 5, 3, 4 years or so. So for me, we have to be intentional. In the art, we need to start now claiming the space, putting the business case on the table, especially where money funding is actually required. There's the Lagos Fashion and Design Week. There's the ArtX Lagos. There's all of these, Design Indaba in South Africa. Yeah, the Johannesburg Art Fair, the Cape Town Art Fair. Those are platforms. The Africa International Film Festival in Lagos. There are so many of these platforms. So we need to plug in from an audience perspective. There are book fairs all over the continent, internationally, fashion shows, fashion weeks. Honestly, I don't know where the problem is, because for me, where I'm sitting, I have no problem whatsoever. We have an audience, a very captivating audience that is available, and we just want to see how we can add value, advice, because I'm looking at the art through the eyes of commerce, through the eyes of economic development. How can we create jobs? These are conversations when Prof and I met in Cape Town in 2013. We've been talking about the same thing. Now we need to move from talk to action. Knowledge is not enough. We need to apply that knowledge and create opportunities for African creatives, not only here, increase the international visibility of African creative talent, which is what I'm doing now for the next decade. My work in the US, not just about me using my own stuff. I am not going to be begging anybody to support the making of the films that I'm going to be making. I have my own money to be able to produce films in the US by my own for the next 10 years or so. So how do we then begin to engage more people at home in Africa to be part of this conversation so we can share ideas as time goes on and add value? So let me stop there for now, Prof. If there are questions, you can ask, but overall, my vision is for African artists to earn a living making art. That's my vision.
Okay.
Right from the beginning, when I met you, Prof, almost 10 years ago, that has always been my passion. And I'm now building at a global level. So thank you so much.
Well, somebody will be asking, what has that got to do with the publication? Usually, newsmakers are the ones that feature in publications like Book Advil. We know where they are, we have their contacts, we can get them, and we can also, through them, also begin to tap in to increase the readership. If anybody has a quick question for Brother Johnny, I would take that before we roll on. Does anybody have a question you want to ask? A clarification? Contribution? Well, like I think he already has his contact he already has his contact, I think, in the chat.
Oh, I'm going to put my contacts now on the chat.
Okay.
I'll do that just now.
Okay, good. Mamta Gupta, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Cole.
Okay, all right. Now, please, I'm going to give the floor to you. Look, if there's any networker that I know, it is Ms. Gupta. The fact that with her platform or different platforms, she reaches a number of people. And I think one of the things that we in Nigeria need to do is to find out to link to the Indian community as well, to share ideas about what we're doing and get to know what they're doing. And I was thinking that as a starting point, the Book Artsville could be a repository of stories, of events, of notices from India. So I will yield the floor to you to introduce yourself and what you do and how you can contribute to what we've been saying.
Cole, thank you for having me here. And thank you. Through you, I've connected to so many stories from Nigeria and so many different things over the years. And then when I got to know about Sandhya spending 10 years there, and I have another friend here with us, Rajpal, who's also spent a lot of years in Africa. And, you know, it's been interesting. And I love art. Not that I have too much time. I used to paint at one time. And it would be really interesting to have a newsletter which talks about things in India and talks about things in Nigeria, and Indians dabbling with art in Africa and Africans dabbling with art in India. Any stories of you know, both nations or both continents. Africa is a continent, India, of course, is part of Asia. But anything from there to here and here to there would be very interesting. And thank you for calling me a networker. I love introducing people. I just love connecting people to people. And that's why I invited Sandhya and Rajpal. Actually, I've sent the invite to many more people, but I sent it too late, I think. I didn't get time, but next time, for sure they'll join.
Okay.
And when you'll send me the email earlier, I will send it to them earlier.
Okay, good.
And,
we would share the recording with as many people as possible. This is a starting point. We want to find, I mean, there are platforms and there are possibilities by which we can get our stories out and we can expand the readership. I know that Brother Yomila Inka is here. He's been listening. Dr. Tosin Tume from South Africa is also listening. Brother Bimbo Manuel, I'm not sure. I know that we have discussed a few things. I don't know whether you would like to, at this point, make a contribution before I go to Brother Godwin, now that he's situated in his car, it might be easy for him to tell us also what he's doing. Brother Godwin in Atlanta has an organization that links African creatives with African American creatives. But let's start from Bimbo. Are you there, Bimbo?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Good.
Yes. Good evening, Nigerian time, everyone. I am Bimbo Manuel. I'm an actor, and I'm a writer. I design content for television, film, and well, across platforms. I'm in the middle of preparing the world premiere of one of my plays. So I just took time off to be here. Yes, indeed. Collie and I had a conversation about this earlier. And one of the things that I observed, I said my first take, just looking through the newsletter, was that the newsletter has to, in the first place, maybe more rigorously, more interrogatively, reassess its public, reassess its demographic, and then see if there is a way in the first place that it can move the readership and access beyond its cult followership, so that in language, in design format, in coloring, in captioning, and all those things, it will be a bit more relevant, not just in content, to other demographics, especially in a country like Nigeria, where you have such a massive youth population. And they are also, ironically, the people who have the most disposable income in their bracket. And they're therefore, by extension, usually the ones that you find at the kind of events and activities that that the newsletter, beyond its news, also pushes. So I feel that language, layout, and all of that, maybe the newsletter needs to first take another look at how it is approaching its public and how it can redesign, reposition to extend itself to other demographics.
Well, thank you very much, Brother Bimbo. These are useful nudges, and like I said, it's not only going to be applicable to the newsletter. We're looking also generally at the arts, at the publication of arts, what we can do, what actions we individually can take. And at the same time, I'm bending over backwards to also bring in newsmakers that some of us might find useful while we're thinking of our publications as well. So let me move on to Brother Godwin, to just in a quick nutshell, tell us about, it's called the Art Circle, or what's it called? That group you have. You have to unmute yourself. Okay, good.
Yeah. Greetings, everyone. I want to thank you for this opportunity. As you can see, I am actually trying to pump some gas. I just left the tire shop to have my vehicle rotated. I'll spare you all of those details. I appreciate the fact that I've just said today. Hopefully going forward, I might be able to not only benefit, but make some viable contributions. I have partnered with an African-American here in Atlanta for the last 4 years to make films and television programs. That happens to be my background, among other things. And almost like a crazy prophet somewhere in the wilderness, and it's coming to pass now. I have foretold the fact that it's going to be a gold rush for content. Now you can have all that good content and not know exactly how to channel it. So I see an opportunity such as this to disseminate those kinds of not just the content but the creators themselves. Because this has been such a short notice for me, thanks to Professor Odutola. He has a way of putting pressure on me, and I don't know exactly why he finds pleasure in that, but it's such short notice. I'm hardly going to be coherent. For those of you that know him well enough, this is his trademark. Put pressure on people, get them to work. Well, thank you, Prof. You have succeeded again. For the rest of you, I am looking forward to being a part and helping this group grow. My position here in the United States that I've told most folks that I've interfaced with is that there is bound to be a link that should be deliberately established and explored. And by pairing with a writer and playing the role of director in our company, we are actually proving that. So to have a platform like this just strengthens that. I will leave it at that. I am going to pass on my contact information to Professor Odutola, and I'm looking forward to further communications with everyone. Thank you again for letting me into this circle.
Thank you very much. Like I said, we will play dual role. There will be possibilities that are some of us who have platforms that we want to look for things people are doing, real things that are being done that can be reported, and at the same time, how we can help the newsletter grow. I have in our midst somebody, I would just simply call her Omoba, and she will she's a thespian, she's a theater artist, she's an administrator, she's a fashionista, like we all are coming to understand. But much more than that is also, meeting different groups, getting to have contacts, because the most important thing in this business is connection. How can we expand our connection? How can we get more and more people to tap into what we're doing? The little fragmentary platforms that we have in 2022, what 2020 taught all of us was that there is a possibility we can build bridges and build communities, very solid communities. She knows that, and I know it too. And if I know she's probably in her car, she's between work and home. If she has a minute or two and wants to say something very quickly, we'll take it. If not, Omoba, are you with us?
Yes, I am, but not yet. I'm just, I'm in the middle of something. So as soon as I'm available, I'll let you know. Yeah.
Okay, very good, very good.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Every occasion in which I have attended, in which German Anikulapo has been there, he makes me say something. How on God's earth can he be at an event I'm organizing and he says to me that he doesn't have an opinion? That is so unfair. And if there's anybody who has a lawyer, I would sue him and sue his lawyers. German, you just don't have a choice. Just unmute yourself and read the Lord's Prayer. Just say, "Our Father who art in heaven." Go ahead. German, Anikulapo.
German, don't say anything more than that. Our Father who art in heaven. Please, you have my support.
There's not. Go ahead, German. We're listening to you.
No, I'm just here to observe. As I told you, Prof, I'm a part of the project. So I'd rather listen to what people have to say, and then I take notes, especially since the publisher is not here. So let me just.
German, I don't agree. Oh. This is Biodri, though. I don't agree. You must speak.
No, I mean, I'm listening to the only one I've missed is Akadioya's initial submission. So I'm just, I'm ready to listen. I'm taking notes so I can pass it on to the publisher. Dr. Adio, I know that I'm part of the publication anyway. So
Do you remember who is talking to you?
I remember you, Abi. I
Praise
remember
God.
you. I saw you in the house. Yes.
Okay. Dr. Tosi
I just
Tume
listened
in
at
South
the
Africa.
end.
Dr. Tosi Tume, are you there?
Hello, I'm here, sir.
Yeah. I know that you have recently moved to South Africa, and I mean, the cultural landscape in South Africa will not be new to you as long as you connect with Johnny. He can supply you with what is happening, who is doing what at any time.
Oh, that's great.
So you
Thank
can always make sure you take his contact before you go. But now, is there anything, any question, any contribution, suggestion? I would be reading Lieutenant Suri's connection, of which Akiadeya has also added to it. But do you have anything to say? We have less than 9 minutes to go.
Okay, I only heard about the newsletter today and I subscribed immediately. So yes, I'm just listening and learning. And like you said, I read the submission of the lieutenant about a literary and arts festival. And I like the idea. I am a member of the steering committee that drives the African Women Playwrights Network. And we also were trying to see new ways where we could expand our visibility this year. And we also thought of having a festival, which they've proposed that I convene in Nigeria later this year. So, like I said, I'm just listening and learning. If I have any idea, I'll pass it on later. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. Brother Yomi Layinka, I want to yield the floor to you. I mean, if there's anybody who has been this, been that, and been everything, an actor, an editor, a producer, a director, an administrator, I think Brother Yomi Layinka wears that hat comfortably. And the reason why he wouldn't mind me asking him is that he was one of those who designed the idea of stampeding people to talk. Okay. Omaba, I'll get to you soon. So, Brother Yomi, the floor is yours.
All right, thank you one time, everybody, and thank you, President Platform. I've been this, been that, and therefore retiring. So I don't know if past experiences would help anybody in this matters. So I'd also be learning, especially to see if there's a possibility of renewing myself and coming back again to participate in what's obviously blossoming but joining international marketplace of ideas that a newsletter offers. Now, I confess that I wasn't very prepared for this conversation because I was in the midst of a number of other things. But off the top of my head, what occurred to me was that for a newsletter to succeed anyway, it must have a very clearly defined audience.
Am I the only one, or is the audio?
You're not the only one.
Require or service of this newsletter, audience, wherever they may be. And I of this particular must well. Okay, sorry. So most leaders need at this point in time, including for fields research know what that especially has happened to the cultural economy of in the powers of the media and the fragmentation that has happened in the media, the personalization of information and the timeliness of it all. It requires that a newsletter speaks to these new challenges and opportunities, and particularly, like somebody had mentioned earlier on, in terms of networking and connecting. I see on the platform right now that there are just about 15 of us, and it doesn't have to be 50. It doesn't have to be 150. This 15 may be the most critical decision makers around this subject across the world, and you need to know those people and network with them. Finally, and I think that this is another very important thing, beyond content is also form. How creative, how titillating, how engaging is the visual and such other elements that captivate a reader and makes the content of such newsletter not only useful in terms of helping action, but also as a collector's item. I thank you for the opportunity to express these few thoughts. Good evening.
Okay, thank you very much indeed. In the last few dying minutes, Rajpal and I started.
Now?
Yes, yes.
If I can quickly.
Yes, please. Please go ahead.
Okay. Let me just acknowledge Mr. Yomi Lainka. I hope you still remember me. Okay, let me put it on video. It's been a while. Okay. Our times at Mivadra and all of that.
Oh, yes, of course.
Okay, good evening, everyone. I'm not sure where everybody else is on the various parts of the world, but I'm in Lagos, Nigeria, so it's evening here where I'm at. It's very profound what Mr. Yomilainka said concerning the content of what will be in the newsletter. A lot of times, we need to ensure that whatever it is that we're trying to sell, we put quality behind it. Because it's a quality, is it glossy? Is it, attracting? What's the content? How strong are the contents of the newsletter? How wide is the scope? Is it covering the various aspects of the arts? I happen to be, can somebody turn off their mute themselves? The person is, I don't know who's not muted. I can hear them. So sorry about that. I happen to work in Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture right now as a permanent secretary. And it is really taking me away from just being a thespian, from just looking at things from the theater and probably the cinema perspective. I'm now looking at the arts in a more holistic, there's so many things. And what is it that drives tourism? It is the creative arts, because the creative arts is a reenactment of life in itself. The creative arts is about lifestyle, it's about living, it's about everything that's happening. And that's what drives tourism. And tourism is not only seen when people go to the arts, it's also from the contents of a newsletter. People want to read something, they want to read up on it before they start engaging with it. And that's one of the reasons why we need to make that newsletter very strong. We need to make it be an advocate of what people want to go and see or what they want to go and do, or as an archival of what they can reference or refer to at some point. Like Yomi said, for keepsake, there are certain things you hold on to. If we remember those, those things that we have in volumes, and we're just referring to them. And some of them we don't even need them. But because they've been presented in such a beautiful way, well packaged, and comes in volume 1, volume 2, volume 3, and all of that, people start making them as part of their library without even referring to them. We can make our newsletters like that people would then refer to them, they'll have it, and it will even transcend different generations. So it's very important, like we said, content, quality, scope. These are some of the things that we need to really put in the newsletters. Thanks for the opportunity to participate and contribute.
Okay, thank you very much, Amaba. I think the last but not the least, I think there are two people that I will be listening to round up. One is Abi Dawu from the United Kingdom, and the other person is Rajpal from India. We've spoken, and we will just listen to the two of them, and then I would give a wrap up, and get in touch with all of you for what is next. So, Abi, do you want to go or yes?
Sorry, what did you say?
I said, do you want to take the floor before Rajpal?
Well, the thing is, all that I'm thinking about with regards to your newsletter, because I'm in the UK, I'm near Manchester, and I've been involved in a couple of newsletters, and it's almost like it's a repetition of the same old thing. You know, you put in a couple of articles, a couple of poetry and stuff, and it's like people are tired of the same old. So I'm just thinking, you know, if we're going to do a newsletter that is going to be worthy of like something that's going to really make an impact in this media saturated world, it has to offer something that is so unusual, something so different. And I've been actually thinking, but although my brain is a bit on the fatigue side, but I've been thinking about what could be that different thing that has never been, that maybe has been seen, but not in the way that we could bring it. And I'm still thinking, but maybe if we all could also think about that and not just think of the same old newsletter, that kind of thing, but bring something that's fresh, something that's young, because whether we like it or not, you know, there's only so much that, you know, older people can sustain newsletters for. Newsletters are things that young people are involved in, but they do it in a way that's completely different. I'm thinking scrapbooking, almost like a kind of scrapbook newsletter kind of thing. I don't know, I haven't got anything concrete in my head yet, but that's all I'm just thinking of, that if we're going to do this, then it has to be young, it has to be fresh, it has to be hip, it has to be something that will make someone see it and want to pick it up and most likely steal it and take it home. That's what we want. Well, that's, you know, that's what I think we should want anyways. So
Okay, Rajpal, do you have any final thoughts? Rajpal in India? It's quite late in India, and it's probably getting to 12 o'clock. Rajpal?
It's 11:30.
It's 11:30, okay. Rajpal or Rajiv Sinha, do you have any closing remarks? Okay. Do you have any closing remarks? I can see my name in the, we're going to close up now. Tunde Aremu, yes. Tunde Aremu, I can see your contribution on the, do you have any closing remarks? Tunde Aremu.
Well, I think the time is spent and we've passed the hour that we agree on. And probably when you read my comment there, but probably beyond what has been said about quality, about content, and what you also said about the art being labor of love. I think one quick thing for me is actually, I mean, reading through the magazine, is that I also feel that the treatment of some of the stories I've read there, a lot of things I've seen there, still follow the same whole tradition of treating art as a court affair, where we have that small community, small population that we actually target and embrace. I think the thing is actually about how do you make the publication and art generally, how do you make it appealing to people? It's not about just putting out there, it's also about how you put it out there. As I said, because of time, I may not go into the details of these. As I said, there are some of the stories I've read there. I mean, I find them exciting as an artist, as a reviewer, as a journalist. But to the average person there, out there, I doubt if they will stop over, if they will jump on top of the roof and say they found something exciting. I've not found anything different from reading the Glendora Review of the 1990s. That's what is occurring to me there. I mean, they are fine pieces, they are well-written pieces, but then will anybody buy them who is not in the hearts? I think it's about how do we market it, how do we make it more exciting? And that's strictly from the perspective of a media trainer and an arts media use. Thank you.
We can't hear colleague.
All right, sorry. So I am going to gather the text. We're already gone past the 1 hour that we allocated to this. We didn't want to take more than 1 hour. But please, if there's anybody who has presented here and you want to connect with them, please let's do it. This is also about networking. And Rajiv Saha has sent in just bullet points, you know, the thoughts that it should be live, active, interactive, touching stories, you know, arts stories that are touching, that add value to our lives, then opportunities for growth and opportunity to network. So the magazine or the newsletter should be able to do all of this. So my thinking is I'm going to send you all, do not wait until after. You can copy Mr. Akyosho's email. If there are things that you have, events, news stories, ideas that you want, you can send to me or you can send to him directly. And my email address is going to be there. And most of you have also been in touch with me. So what I'm going to be doing from now on is acting as a facilitator to see how we can create a bridge, especially using the arts between India, USA, UK, and Lagos, Nigeria. We need ourselves. We need to understand ourselves if the world is truly going to be a global village. For any artist to be able to go beyond their own immediate vicinity to reach out to others is always an added advantage. And that is one of the reasons why I thought I would go ahead with this, to create that kind of opportunity for us to reach out beyond ourselves. And I mean, you can imagine stories from India, or stories from the perspective of India, or stories from South Africa with a Lagos flavor, or a Lagos flavor with a South African content, would all be the kind of thing that I would like to see. It's not a talk shop. It's something that is action. It's something that I want to see at the end of this, that we're developing linkages. The way it works is that you find somebody who you can work with, somebody who can expand what you're doing, somebody who can add value to what you're doing. And both of you begin to work at your own pace. Once both of you have started to work at your own pace, you can now begin to tap into each other's network in order to expand what you're doing. This is about making you better than you came. Today is the 10th of January. I'm looking at it that by the end of January, I want to hear stories of people having projects and they're discussing the projects. I don't necessarily have to be a part of it, but I have just created the platform and the possibility of involving. I actually did send to people in Trinidad and Tobago, but while I was teaching, the brother called, but I could not take the call because I was teaching. And he had also wanted to be a part. And let me just give this out as a final thing, because it's also about letting you know what others are doing. I don't know how many of you know Mrs. Taya Gubiade. She's a historian who writes about women, and she's working on a book that has to do with the voices of women. So this is all about, yes, we know who is doing what, even if it's at a small scale. And as you know who is doing what, they would also introduce you to their own larger society. So on that note, I hope some way or the other, we've been able to pick one or two things. Please, if anybody, I would send you the recording. If there's anybody that has come on this that you need to contact and you don't have a contact, I'm sure I'll be able to contact such person. If anybody has any closing remarks, it will be fair. Thank you very much, Mr. Jarman, who says he's taking notes and is going to get across. I would also send this video to Mr. Toya Akosho.
Hold a small suggestion.
Yes,
Hold
please.
a small suggestion. If you could explore a Google group or something like that, and you know, where it's all about arts, creativity, writing, stories, music, fashion across UK, US, India, Africa. At least we'll start a conversation, and then you can have this every month. Something like this to begin with.
Okay.
Just think about it. Yeah.
Yes, we will definitely think about it. But like I know, everybody that has contributed to this, I tell you, they are so busy. Their plates are so filled that I've had this number participate in this. It's the greatest honor that anybody can have on a Monday, and I thank you very much. Whatever suggestions we'll have, I'm not one, those who know me know that I will not create one extra thing that will be stressful, that will put extra burden on you. The utility value of it, whatever will form after this, a Google group, a WhatsApp group, whatever, must be that it is something that we want. It is something that has a measurable value in what we're doing, and that we are tapping into audiences that can contribute to what we're doing. Taya, do you have something to say?
Please, Dr. Colley, I have to go. I've got my carer in the house.
Okay, not a problem. We're rounding up right now.
Yeah,
this
so
is just,
but it's so nice to meet everyone, and for the old faces, it's so nice to see you guys again. It really is, and I hope that we can, please, I hope we have a WhatsApp group so that at least we can be able to talk and everything. But thank you so much, everyone, and take care of yourselves. Have a great time.
All right, that's about the vote of thanks and the final, except anybody has a final thought. If not, I am going to say thank you very much. I am also scuttling off to go and teach and earn. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Last word, Colley, we commend your effort. On behalf of this group, we commend your effort. It's admirable, truly.
Thank you very much indeed, my brother. Thank you. All right, Brother Kings, thank you. We've been talking about fragmentation and how we can expand. It's been the pet project now. We've done it. I think we've learned how to walk. Now, I think it is time to now start running across the continent, across various regions. Yes. Thank you very much. Michael, thank you. Bimbo. If you have the advert for that play, especially those of you in Port Harcourt, or have connections in Port Harcourt, the play that, I won't tell you the title of it. The play that Brother Bimbo is working on is going to show in Port Harcourt. And yes, so let me save. Yes, German, good. All right. We can hang around for some more time, but I would keep this. I would keep everyone directly. Okay, save chat. Okay, I'm going to save the chat. You also can save chat so that you have email addresses, but at the same time, I'm going to send you all the email addresses. Okay, so end recording. Recording stopped.